G'day YouTube, Max right here, and welcome to this week's Q&A. So we got 76 questions here from our members. We're going to go through these one at a time, get everything answered for everyone. Before we start, a couple quick announcements. One, I've placed the first 7 or 8 videos, I can't remember which, of the crypto trading course in the members area. So go ahead and check those out. It's a really good start, and I'll be finishing that off in the next week or two. What else did I have to share with you? Oh yeah, I had to make fun of myself for the video I recorded at 4 a.m. when I was asleep. I had just myself as a tiny thumbnail in the corner and a blank screen, so I apologize for that. But all is well, we'll get through that. So let's go ahead and start getting through these questions. So as usual, if you want to follow along with the questions in the order in which they're being asked, I'll put the link to the video where people ask their questions in this video, so it's in the description of this video. Go ahead and click sort by, and you choose newest first. And we're going to start with Jowry Houston. Hey Max, what's your current view on if we get another market crash? Thanks for the videos. It has not changed much. I still believe there will be a crash this year. More likely, I think, before the election. And that is, although we're getting really close to it, and I'm running out of time to be correct on that prediction. But sometime this year, I think we'll get a big everything crash similar to March of 2020. Let's see how that prediction plays out. Max, what do you think about Bitcoin banks that pay interest? BlockFi, for example. Do you have any interest in that kind of setup? I am interested in it. I got to do a really, really deep dive in understanding all of the different mechanics about that particular play. So if they're offering you interest, one thing you can be sure is there is risk introduced somewhere in the system. With 100% certainty, there will be risk somewhere in the system. The question becomes, what is that risk? Is it manageable? Is it mitigatable? Is it something that's very, very acceptable for the return? But it's the kind of risk where you could lose all of your capital. So I got to go really, really deep into understanding each individual one of these different options to do that, which I tend to do here fairly soon. I think I'll do that before the end of the year's out. And what we'll be looking at is what are the market mechanisms? Because what happens is you put your funds somewhere, you lock them up, and then someone else is doing something. They're using that as collateral to produce something else. There's a whole bunch of derivative things happening. They've all got slightly different solutions and slightly different ways of dealing with it. But then what happens is you're getting a return for putting your funds in there. Now, under the vast majority of circumstances, I'm sure that these funds are well protected and you just earn your interest and get your money back. But are there any fringe cases, black swan events, if the underlying crypto asset goes down by 50% in a day? Are there any instances whereby you could lose your funds? That's the big question. And I got to do a deep dive on that to understand that and fully appreciate all of those instances. And as I do, I'll let you guys know. But I am interested in the topic. I think it is the future. I think it's very cool. And I definitely want to get to it and check it out. From Andrew, keep my questions a little bit lower. From Andrew, what about commodities, in specific corn and soybeans? I have the ability to store either or both. Hey Andrew, I don't look at those commodities. I'm like, if you're going to do a commodity, just do gold and silver because of the ease of storage and everything else that goes along with it. But you find yourself in a unique situation whereby you can store corn and soybeans, presumably for free. Perhaps you live on a farm or something like that. And you can store these things. Very, very interesting concept. I haven't looked at it, so I don't really look at soybeans or corn. I'm sorry. If I'm going to do a commodity, it's precious metals or Bitcoin. I guess you could put in that same basket. So sorry, I'm not more helpful there, Andrew. Marcus, in your opinion, which asset will bring the most gains in the long term? Gold, silver, or Bitcoin? In my opinion, Bitcoin. Hi, thanks. Curious about upon selling, exchanging crypto and transactions. Whoa. Curious about selling, exchanging crypto and transactions that are smaller than 10K. Are we required to file them for taxes? No, you're not required to file any transactions less or more than 10K. The institutions you deal with, they have to file transactions over 10K or clusters of transactions that they believe were somehow linked over 10K. Um, yeah, you do not need to file them for taxes. No, I don't believe that. Check with your accountant. Or do wallets exchanges report them in a form to the IRS? Yes, the exchanges do. Wondering your knowledge, experience on tax reporting and crypto transactions. Yeah, I had someone, it was an Australian guy, making fun of me for the other day in the comments, thinking I was an idiot and I didn't understand tax code, because if I said when you sell Bitcoin and buy Ethereum that there's a tax consequence to that. Yeah, my belief is there is that YouTuber was just wrong, and he was Australian. It's true in Australia as well. It doesn't mean you can't run the risk and not do it, and especially if you're doing very small amounts, is it going to get reported to the ATO in Australia or the IRS in America? You might choose to try and run the gauntlet and get away with it, but I think the law is pretty clear. But again, check with your accountants. When you sell Bitcoin, you bought it at $100. And then you wait 6 months and it's now up to worth $200, and then you exchange it Bitcoin for Ethereum. So you now own $200 worth of Ethereum. The way they see it is you bought for $100, you sold for $200 into cash, even if it's for a split second. In that instance, you have realized a $100 capital gain. You'll pay capital gains tax on that if it was more than 12 months, and income tax if it was less than 12 months. And then you now own a new asset, Ethereum. One day you go to sell that, your cost base will be $200. Okay, so that is how I believe both the IRS and the ATO of Australia deal with that. But check with your accountants in your local areas. Where are we? With regards to report, if you're going to be a trader in and out of all these different cryptos, technically what you should do, and I recommend, there is a website. Let me see. I might even have it right here. What are you? Coin tracking. I think it's .com, maybe .info, but coin tracking. What they do is, even if you're connected to 3, 4, 5, 6 exchanges, they can't use your funds, but they can log into all those exchanges and they track your buys and sells, and they do a whole tax reporting thing at the end of the year for you. So it's a nice, easy, I think it's a free software that takes care of all of it for you. Does that answer all the different tax questions? And the IRS, I believed, as of last year, had a checkbox. Did you trade in any crypto this year? And the word was trade, not own. Did you trade any crypto this year? And if you tick it, I don't know, maybe there are more follow-up questions. But I wouldn't be surprised if more taxing organizations around the world start asking more and deeper questions about cryptocurrencies as its market cap gets bigger and more people get involved. Hi Max, in your recent webinar, you presented the high-level perspective about buying property in the downturn, but I haven't seen any specific advice on how to find these properties in the members area. Could you provide some key pointers to finding and buying done-it-for-you properties that are managed and give you a return without involvement in the property itself? I don't own a property myself and lost to what the key preparation steps in time for the bargains to be had might be. Thanks a million. All right, Michael. So you're correct. There isn't anything in the Success Council members area. I will make that when the time comes. I think we're a good year or two away from it. I actually intend to make that because I'm a teacher. I just love teaching. When I'm doing it, I'm teaching it simultaneously, always. It's like why I'll keep Success Council. Whatever I'm doing at the moment to make money, I'm making courses teaching you guys for it just because I love being a teacher. So you will get the information, I promise. However, you do raise a good point in terms of preparation. Sorry, one other thing. When the time comes, they'll be everywhere. They'll be everywhere. You can find them everywhere. You look them up on the MLS. You look them up on I don't know what country you're in, but wherever properties are normally sold, you'll find them there. Maybe you can take it to the next level and you can buy them on distressed properties or on courthouse steps. And I'll give you a whole bunch of steps and I'll tell you what I'm doing when I'm doing it. But they're everywhere. I had dinner a few months back. I was down in Florida and had dinner with a friend of a friend, and they're like, hey Max, this guy's just did everything that you're talking about back in 2008. It's like, tell me your story. He had I think $250,000 in his 401k or some retirement vehicle in 2008. Everything crashed. This is after the crash. It was about $200,000. He got smashed, but he got frustrated with losing half of his money. He went and turned it into a self-managed fund. And then for cash, didn't involve the banks at all, just started buying properties for cash. He bought 8 properties that were about $25,000 each. He put about $10,000 into rehabbing them. And just all of this is cash, all with a retirement vehicle, with the money inside the retirement vehicle. So the money is still in the retirement vehicle. He hasn't paid taxes, or there hasn't been any big tax consequences of withdrawing money. We teach you all this in Success Council now. And what he did was he bought 8 houses for, let's call it $35,000, $25,000 cash plus $10,000 rehab. He's never refinanced them. He's never done anything. There's no banks involved. He's just done that. And so do the math for 830s, 240s. Let's just say he bought 8 properties. That's what he told me. He bought 8 properties. And it was around about 230,000, 240,000, something like that. And he got immediately, day one, in rent, he got about $1,300 per month rent on each of these properties in Florida. It was in the Tampa Bay, St. Petersburg area. But they're just everywhere. So do the math on that. For $240,000, he bought these 8 properties, and 8 properties times $1,300 a month. What do we get to? $10,400 per month? I think so, something close to that. So for $240,000, he bought an income of over $10,000 a month. He bought an income of $120,000 a year, and he didn't leverage at all. No, none of the things I'm going to teach you how to do, or I've already taught you how to do with using leverage. The property, had he have used leverage, the cash flow on cash return of these deals would have been everything you need to turn $100,000 into $100,000 per year of income. And he just got them all on the MLS. Nothing special about what he did. He just went and got 8 of them on the MLS, but he did it at the right time in 2009. Finding the properties is not going to be a problem. They're going to be growing on trees. They're going to be the high end of town. They're going to be the low end of town. They're going to be all the things. It doesn't matter. They'll be everywhere. I'll teach you this stuff when the time comes. Don't worry. And we'll all be doing it together, and it's just going to be a phenomenal time, and it just gets closer and closer every day. We get more and more excited. Dear Max, who manages the algorithm of Bitcoin? Some people say there must be somebody who manages it. Is there any opinion that Bitcoin will break this rule of 21 million coins and put more coins on the market? Great question. So I'll just reword it to make it slightly more accurate. Who manages the Bitcoin code? There is a Bitcoin Foundation. They manage the code. And what they do is they can update the software and put it out there for people to download. However, the question is, do people download it? When they make adjustments to the code, there's this huge selling process. It goes, hey guys, we've made these adjustments. Here's what the code does. It's open source. People can go and investigate the actual source code. So it's not proprietary. Everyone is visible, available to the public for scrutiny. And they say, we've changed the code in this way. Here is what we think it does. Is there anybody who thinks it doesn't do this? And okay, once we get past that hurdle, you agree that it does what we say it does. Should we adopt it? And then it's up to every single individual who adopts it and who does not. Should we adopt this code? Does that serve us? Does it not serve us? And who's involved in those decisions? Well, every single person who owns Bitcoin. Do you want to change? Do you want to use this new code or not? Do the exchanges want to use this code? Do the miners want to use this code? So it's very much a community consensus is what do we do as a community? Do we use this code or not? It's open source, we can investigate it. And so from there, and it has happened in the past that people disagree. And so that's what happens when Bitcoin forks. It says, well, okay, we've got half the people in the world using Bitcoin Cash, and we got half the people over here using Bitcoin Original. And so if you held Bitcoin at the time it forked, let's say you own 200 coins, you own 200 coins on this branch, and you own 200 coins on this branch. And if you just, now there's in any given branch, does the 21 million coins increase? No, they do not. Can that be changed? No, it cannot. It's deeply embedded in the code, and the way the mining system works, you build on top of, build on top of, build on top of, build on top of. It's so built on top of now you can't change the number of Bitcoin. But what you can do is you can copy Bitcoin and fork it and start something else. And then the question becomes, okay, there's now more of these coins, you own the same percentage. If you had 200 coins of the 21 million here, you also have 200 coins of the 21 million over here. The question is, does anyone use it? And to the degree that people use these other forks is the degree to which they have value. And there have been a couple of forks which do have value, and I own Bitcoin in lots of different chains. And so in that way, it can get bigger. But they do become different and separate animals in and of their own self at that point. Usually what happens is the vast majority of the marketplace goes into one particular one. So far, it's been the original Bitcoin every single time. But there are some loyalists, or the people who advocate for the fork and who take it in a different direction, and that's okay. They can do that, and it's the war of ideas, if you will. Which branch of Bitcoin is going to be the one to rule all others? So far, it's been Bitcoin original. But if they ever fork, you'll own the same percentage in the other fork, and you can decide yourself. I hope that helps. What do you think about cex.io and their wallet? I don't use them. I have heard of them, but I don't use them, so I can't comment on that. Max, what's your mindset about real estate? Why is it going up in prices, even in a recession, pandemic, job losses? Any thoughts on Canadian or American real estate in particular? Thank you. So the reason it's going up is several-fold. One, there is money printing going on. Two, so there's lots more money in the system, and people can go and borrow that money and go ahead and be buying all kinds of assets. You see all assets go up. I talk about the correlation of all assets. Money, everything goes up or everything goes down together because of what the Fed's doing. Part A. Part two, you have not seen the wave of distressed sellers. In almost every country I know of, renters don't have to pay rent and mortgagees don't have to pay mortgages. And so if you have a distress, just stop paying. No one's going to come and foreclose on you. No one's going to come and kick you out of your house. None of these bad things are going to happen. And so the day of reckoning is just being pushed off, and it's kicking the can down the road. It's an absolute disaster for the economy. But the reason we haven't seen the prices collapse yet is that there are always government programs like forbearance giving people the permission to just stay in their homes and not pay. Now, that cannot go on forever. If it does go on forever, all the people who are paying feel like suckers. It's like, why am I paying rent when my neighbor is not paying rent? We're both living in the same apartment. It can't go on forever because it will catch on that everyone can just stop paying rent, and then that's the complete collapse of the economy. And if what's the point of owning the property? Like, there's no point owning the property. It doesn't do anything. So why would you buy a property when the tenant is not going to pay you rent? There's no point to buy property anymore. So that would collapse the price of real estate. Or they can actually make people start paying again. In which case, there's a whole bunch of people who are unemployed, lost their jobs, etc., and can't pay. And they're scared, they're cautious. They would like to downgrade their property even if they can pay because they don't want to be paying as much in rent or mortgage as they could, and there'll be this sell-off. And it has to go one of two ways, but there will be a day of reckoning where either this goes on forever and enough people say, screw it, I'm not paying rent either, I'm the sucker, I'm the idiot, my neighbors aren't, I'm not going to pay either, and then the whole system collapses. Or, no, you do have to pay, and then the whole system collapses because a good chunk of those people cannot pay. It's the only way it can go. The day of reckoning has not happened yet because there's this confusion. Enough people are paying that they're not feeling like the suckers, and but the people who wouldn't pay are not. They're not being forced to sell. So the day of reckoning has been kicked down the road, but it's coming and it'll be worse. Max, that's your mindset about real estate. Done. Canadian real estate, Canadian or American real estate, the whole world's in exactly the same boat. In his most recent book, Life After Google, George Gilder makes the argument that because the supply of Bitcoin is capped, it cannot be a stable unit of account, i.e. it is deflationary. Is this argument valid? If not, why not? So Bitcoin, Bitcoin is deflationary, yes. The supply is capped, yes. Can it be a stable unit of account? Well, I guess the argument of stable is, I guess, not. Because it is deflationary by its measure. So, whereas you think something like gold, generally the pace of mining stays at the level of how much we want gold. And so therefore it tends to stay relatively stable. But, I mean, what is stable? Is the US dollar is a current unit of account. Is the US dollar stable? No, of course not. It's lost 99% or 98% of its value in the last 100 years. That's not stable either. It's stable because that's what you're keeping as the unit of account. That's what you're measuring everything as. So, because you're paying taxes in US dollars, and taxable consequences only occur when you sell something for US dollars, then it appears stable, but the US dollar is not stable either. So caveat to that. However, is Bitcoin going to be used as a unit of account in the near future widespread? No, it already is for me and many others. I care about how many Satoshis I have. That's what I care about. I don't care about how many dollars I have. I just care about how many Satoshis I have, or units of ounces of gold or ounces of silver or other things. I've already stopped using the US dollar as the unit account. So there's a different way. He would have used this argument in a stepping stone to a larger argument, and it depends on what the larger argument is as to whether or not the statement is valid. So hopefully I've given you enough information to dissect the validity of that piece of information in the stepping stones of his arguments. I use Bitcoin as a unit of account. I measure my wealth in Bitcoin among other assets to determine how wealthy I am at any given time. So I'm doing it. But is it going to be widespread anytime soon? I think he's probably right and probably not. Does that matter, and does it mean it won't appreciate? No, it's the same like gold appreciates. We don't use it as a unit of account now either. So I don't know how he's used it in his stepping stone of logic in the argument. So I don't know if the way he's used it is accurate or not. I hope that helps. Giselle, hi Max. We have gold under our super funds name in a vault. Do you see the Australian government telling us to give our gold to them at any stage and under what circumstances? Thanks, Giselle. Yeah, that can absolutely happen. Happen in America in the Great Depression. Could Australia do it? They could do it. I always like to just plan for the worst, hope for the best. And so, but I understand what you've done. If you take it outside of that vault, if you take it outside of your retirement vehicle, your super fund, now all of a sudden there's a very heavy taxable consequences to that action. So look, it's a possibility, but it doesn't mean you need to go and act on that immediately. I think it's a pretty slim possibility. What are the possibilities? And it depends on the rest of your portfolio, I would suggest too. What is your risk appetite for this? What is the rest of your portfolio? Would I have all of my gold in that super fund? Yeah, probably not. Is it okay to have the majority in there? Yeah, I think so. Because the circumstances by which they will confiscate the gold is so drastic that everything I've said and have predicted is come true times a million. Like the 90% of your gold is in there, and 10% is in maybe let's say a less obvious hidden place or in a vault in Singapore or something like that. Let's say the Australian government comes in and takes everything off of everyone. If that happens, the situation is so dire, so drastic, so horrific. What is left to own? The $500 in Bitcoin that you owned is now worth $5 million in Bitcoin. The $2,000 worth of gold ounces that the 1 ounce that you have in Singapore is now worth 30 houses. In the situation when that happens, everything changes so drastically that the things that I've told you work. And so I have gold in several different continents. I have silver in several different continents. I have Bitcoin in several different continents. I do all of these things as just expect the worst, hope for the best. I think it's a very small set of circumstances that I lose any of these or even a portion of these, let alone a large portion of these. But if I do, what has occurred for that to get to that place means that the few that I have absolutely explode in value. So that's my mentality and risk mitigation strategy around that. Isabel, do you think you should pay off balance of personal residential mortgages held by regular banks right now? I'm concerned about potential of bail-ins to affect ability to pay or debts being called in or any other considerations that you might have. Thanks. So it's a valid question, and it comes down to this. In a time of deflation, debt becomes way more expensive because you have to pay it back with deflated dollars, which means you have to work twice as hard to get the dollars to make your repayments. In times of high inflation, now debt is wonderful because you have to work half as much to acquire the dollars to repay your mortgage loan and to pay off your debt. So in deflation, debt is bad. In inflation, debt is good. Again, this comes back to similar to the last question, a whole risk mitigation strategy. You want a big picture concept of this. If there is massive deflation, Well, what's happening? What have you got to protect yourself? Hopefully you have some cash to protect yourself. If there's massive inflation, your cash is going to be worthless. Well, hopefully you've got some precious metals or Bitcoin to protect yourself. And so you have to run out these scenarios and come up with a strategy for if this, then what happens to protect myself? If this, then what happens to protect myself? Well, what are the losers in all those situations? Stay away from those like the plague. What are the winners in the majority of those situations? Be involved with those. And that's kind of what I teach you throughout the Success Council, to build that plan so that no matter what happens, inflation, deflation, either way, you're going to be a winner. Let's go back to that for one more second. It doesn't mean that I'm going to give you a piece of advice and this thing is going to be, it's just never going to lose money. There's no such thing like that. Everything in certain circumstances is going to lose. And so you want your basket of wealth to be certain asset classes which you are protected no matter which way it goes. That's how I've set myself up. It's what I teach you guys to do in the Success Council. No, which one? So, do you have any current recommendations for where to open a self-directed IRA account? Gold Money is associated with Entrust, but they have a lot of bad ratings on Yelp. Okay, so if you don't like Gold Money, there's plenty of others. I love Silver Bullion out of Singapore. I love Gold Silver here in the States. And they have foreign accounts if you want. And I'm pretty sure you can set up those accounts in the name of your self-directed IRA with all of those. I believe, and I'm pretty sure that if you go into the members area, let's have a quick look here. Let's go into the members area. If you go into investing gold and silver and why, and if you go into retirement accounts and retirement accounts and precious metals, right here, I'm going to teach you a company that will help you get set up doing that. And we got a special deal for it. I think they do it for free. I just want to, I know they do it for some type of retirement vehicles. I'm not sure if an IRA is one of them, but it could. So anyway, start there. It's a great starting point. Check with them and go from there. Pardon me. Did I miss the question? No. Hi Max, how are you? What price do you expect for Ether Monero at the end of 2021? Great question. I think by the end of 2021, I would not be surprised if Ethereum has outperformed Bitcoin. There's going to be some coins that outperform Bitcoin. I think this is going to happen, but there's going to be a lot of coins that underperform, and so I see Bitcoin and probably Ethereum second as the two safest bets. I would say Ethereum is a little bit more risky than Bitcoin, but I would say Ethereum is going to a little bit outperform Bitcoin. That's probably the most likely scenario, but I'm mostly in Bitcoin. I'm more than comfortable with that level of risk and that level of gain, and I'm a happy camper. Monero is a little bit more of it's a much bigger risk, a much bigger, what's it called? It's a much bigger risk, much bigger reward. You know, if it becomes the privacy coin that everyone's excited about, it's going to explode in value way more than everything else. And if something else comes up, then it's just not, and it can dwindle. And so, you know, it's just that as you move further down the blockchain, the coin market cap, you're just getting into higher risk, higher reward. And that's a decision for you guys to make. Hi Max, I would like to ask some questions about your lifestyle mindset, if that's okay. One older video you mentioned that you didn't work and had time to spend with your family, played with your son, etc. I'm curious to know if you consider yourself financially independent. Can you briefly tell us how you got there? For example, did you have a job business when you were young and then invest your money so you didn't have to work anymore? Do you then live off with passive income or business income? Thank you. Hi, Black Avenue Productions. That's a great question. I'm more than happy to chat about that stuff. So I'll tell you, I think it's a cool story. And so I'd love for you guys to hear this. So what is it? It's 2000. I think I graduated college in 1999. I have an engineering degree. 2020, I start my first job, and it's for PricewaterhouseCoopers in Australia, the management consultant division. and I'm a computer programmer, building software solutions for like the water board in Sydney and things like that. I'm there for a few months and I want to blow my brains out. Corporate America is exactly like school. And it's just no matter how good you are, no matter how slow you are, no matter how whatever, we all graduate at the same time. And no one gives a damn about what grades you got. This is the biggest lie I ever got told ever in my life. Just in sixth grade. In Australia, sixth grade is the end of elementary and seventh grade is the beginning of high school. In sixth grade, it's like just this is a really important year. This will dictate what grades you get. What grades you get will dictate what class you get into in seventh grade, and that'll determine the whole high school. And so really focus on your sixth grade exams and da-da-da-da. And you did it and you got through and you went through to the class and nothing mattered and no one gave a damn about what you got in the previous exams. And you started from scratch and everyone started at the same level. And this was true for high school. It was true for, in Australia, they call it the HSC, in America, the SATs. Nothing matters. Nothing matters. You are stuck in the herd, limping along like a cripple at the speed of the slowest person in the room. And it drove me insane. And I just thought, as soon as I get this stupid bitch of a piece of paper called a degree, I will be out in the real world and I can set the world on fire. And I got in corporate world and it was every bit as horrific as school. You plodded along and waited for the guy above you to die. And I was there for 6 months. And I need to be in an environment where there are no rules, no limits, and I can completely just make whatever lifestyle I want for myself. I realized very quickly that this was the world of entrepreneurship. And I didn't know a single entrepreneur. None. I had no mentors. It had never been presented to me as an option. I wish at the time, I left school in 10th grade and just went and started businesses. That's what I wish I did. I didn't. It was never presented to me as an option. My mindset was not built for it. Everything I'd learned was not built for it. All the skill sets I needed to be a successful entrepreneur was not there. And I knew this when I made the decision to be an entrepreneur. I thought, if I work my face off in corporate Australia, in the corporate world, I'm sure I would have been overseas in America or England or London or whatever the hell, so many of my friends did that. If I did that, I knew with complete certainty that what would happen is I would be just like my bosses at PricewaterhouseCoopers. They would be the first to arrive at work. They would be the last to leave. They'd work 10 hours a day, 5-6 days a week. They'd never see their kids. And they'd have a nice income of $200,000-$300,000, enough to be nice and send their kids to private school, but never be financially free. Never be able to just not work. And I said, even if I am wildly successful in this world, I will never achieve my dream of being free. So there's no point being here. There's a complete waste of time, and everything I got told was a complete lie. So my motivation to leave the corporate world was extremely high. So I'm going to go and be an entrepreneur, because there, as difficult as it is, and as unprepared as I am, and without any mentors as I am, I've got a shot at being completely financially free. It can happen. And I can build a business that runs without me, and I can do a whole bunch of things. And I got a lot of things wrong. It didn't turn out the way I wanted, but it did. I was right in that the rules are there ain't no rules in the entrepreneur world. You can do whatever you want, set up your business, whatever you want, and just create the life that you want. And I did. And I also knew it was going to take me a long time. I knew I was in kindergarten in the world of entrepreneurship. And I knew I had to go through years and years of schooling to get my skill set up to where it needed to be successful. And I knew I was in for a long, hard grind. And there were two things that made it a very easy decision. One was the first thing, which is the other path is a guaranteed failure. No matter how successful I am, I can never achieve what I want. So there's no point going down that path. The second thing was I believed that even though I was going to suck at being an entrepreneur for years because I was in kindergarten, and kindergartners suck at stuff, that's fair, they're kindergartners, I knew that the learning curve would be so great, and the skill set of entrepreneurs is so much bigger and better than an employee. It just is. That at any point I could come back to the old corporate world and I could lie and bullshit my way into being 5 to 10 years ahead of them. Even if I failed at entrepreneurship, I could be back. And I did it. So I did it for other people so many times. Other people tried to follow, like other good friends tried to follow my footsteps. And they went and they started a business, failed. 6 months later, they needed to go and get a job. And they talked to me. I said, yeah, listen, is your skill set better than what it was? Yeah, so don't go for the job that you think you're going for. go for a job with 5 years experience. And because their gift of the gab, their sales skill and everything else was better, they actually got the job and they leapfrogged the people who stayed in corporate America, corporate Australia. They just, all of us that had a degree, those are some of my friends, the specific one I'm thinking about, he had a degree in electrical engineering and was a whiz-bang coder and whatever. He started his career as a sales, started horribly, like, it was terrible and made all the mistakes, and sales is hard when you begin, but it's the most valuable skill in the world. But at the end of it, he could sell himself, and after 6 months, he did, I think he sold credit cards or something in a grocery store. It's like you walk into a grocery store, hey, can I interest you in an American Express, that type of thing. But 6 months later, he's a really good seller, and it's the most valuable skill in the world they don't teach you at school. And he just went into a job that was earning like $200,000, I think he was earning there, and he just bullshitted his way into the job because he had the gift of the gab now. And I think he lied about his experience, and I think I lied for him. Actually, I think what happened was I don't think I know. I was his reference. I never employed him, but I employed him. And he got the job for $200,000 a year. They asked for a reference. Yep, he's worked here for 5 years. He's a sales manager. He's awesome. And he went and got a job, $200,000 a year. His fellow graduates, had he have stayed in the coding world, would have been earning $60,000, $70,000 a year. I'll give you another tip, people. Lie about your degree. Your dream job needs a degree. I don't want you to get in trouble. I would lie about it all day long. If I wanted it, I would, you need this degree? Here, I've got this degree. No one checks. No one cares. Is it your passion? If you've been studying it for years on YouTube because you love it, what do you need a piece of paper for? Just tell them you got the degree. Tell them you got the 5 years experience. When you've been an entrepreneur and you've failed and you've bullshitted and you've pushed the envelope and you've done all the things, this stuff just becomes, it's nothing. It's like, and then if it doesn't work, they fire you. That never happened, by the way. In each occasion, he succeeded at his job because he had the skills to pull it off. I went to a sidetrack there about my friend's life, back to my life. And so you can tell I like talking about this. This could end up an hour-long answer to this question. So where am I? I go into the world of entrepreneurship and I'm in kindergarten and I fail miserably for 8 years. I think it's about 8 years. Just start a business, fail, start a business, fail, start a business, fail. And I had my mentality of, I lead the story of the Vikings who come across to England. The king of the Vikings says, we're burning our own ships. And says, if we leave this island, we're leaving on their ships. There's no losing this war. Let's get them. And they go and they win the war and they go back on English ships. Burn your ships. I refused to go back to the corporate world. I failed and needed money plenty of times during that 8 years. And I would go back to my college job of packing boxes in a factory. And so it was very, very challenging. So I got 25-year-old friends. They're driving around nice cars. They got the nice big mortgages. They've 5 years experience in the corporate world. They go making some really good money. And I'm packing boxes in a factory 3 days a week, and 3 days, living on the TV box, sitting on the crate scenario. And then I would spend 3 days a week, trying to start a business, trying to start something new, start a new venture. And 1 day a week was like social time. And this is what I did for years, failing at business, having a job to support my business. But what I was pursuing was the learning and the skill set of the business. So my skill set got better and better, and eventually I broke through. I broke through and it was actually my very first internet business in 2008. And it was a great first year. And within a few years, I was earning like $300,000-$400,000 a year and making way more money than all of my peers. Like the comparable people who were in corporate, many of them had moved to London now and were very high up in like large organizations and banks and whatever else. But I was still making more money than them, and generally working 20 hours a week. From that moment on in 2008, I don't think I've ever worked more than 20 hours a week on average a year. There are times when I work really hard. The last 2 months I've worked really hard. But average per year, there's no way in the world I've made, since 2008, I've worked more than 20 hours per week. And so I have this business, it's a huge success. It's in the world of personal development, but it's an online business. And now I'm building this lifestyle that I always wanted, which was complete freedom. I work when I want, how I want. And things are working really well. I have a business partner. I end up paying him a salary. I just want the freedom. I don't care about the money. We're making enough money. I pay him a salary to run the business without me. And whatever's left at the end of the year, we split it. I get half, he gets half. And on top of that, he got his salary. and I just go and live in the Caribbean for 3 years and retire. But while I'm there, I create Success Council because I love to teach. I realize teaching is my passion and I just want to do it. So now I create this, and at the same time, my business partner and I had a little bit of a falling out. We're not getting along too well. And so that business, he ends up buying me out of that business for 7 figures. And at the same time, in the last, I've been, I've been investing diligently in precious metals, in Bitcoin, and a bunch of other things. And I sell this business for 7 figures. And I've got this Success Council thing, which can and does make me a lot of money whenever I choose to do it and work it and do those things. So it's there for me, and that's been kind of my life. Just when I want to teach, when I'm passionate about something, I get on, I teach people. I've created this, I think, relatively loyal following of Success Council members because whenever I'm excited by something and doing it, I immediately teach them. And I've got people who paid me $497 8 years ago and have been with me through precious metals and crypto and all the things I do, real estate, and they've got tens of thousands of dollars worth of courses that over the years, as I just build and build and build. As soon as I get it, I just love teaching it to them, and I help people. I do these Q&As, etc. And so that's what I do. I can work very, very few hours and create that kind of an income. And I do that really because I don't need the income because I have an investment portfolio of millions of dollars, and I don't need to work, but I do this because I love. So I consider myself completely financially free because I don't need to work, but I do this teaching thing at Success Council because I love it and I enjoy it. And the feedback that you guys give me and the warm comments, just to say it makes it worthwhile times 10 is an understatement. Nothing makes me happier than to help people break through on that psychological stuff and pushing through their fears to do these things and giving them the specific tools and action steps to, okay, Bitcoin is scary, but okay, I can invest $50 in Bitcoin and start to learn it. All that stuff, helping people grow is just absolutely joy for me. So that's why I do it. I don't consider myself, I said I'm financially free. I am. I don't have to work. I'm thoroughly certain I will never have to work if I don't want to. I hesitate to say it for one reason. I believe the true definition of financial freedom is when you own an asset that cash flows. You own an apartment building that puts $500,000 a year in your pocket, you're financially free. That building's not going anywhere. Rents might go up, rents might go down, but you're not financially free all of a sudden. I do not have the cash flow I want. And the reason is I believe cash flow is a terrible investment right now because of the massive debt bubble that has been created. Real estate and the stock market and the high dividend paying stocks are all massively inflated, and we are right at the cusp of the collapse of that debt bubble. And so I'm patiently waiting on the sidelines with my portfolio, waiting to jump in and buy that passive income. So yes, I'm financially free, but I do not have the passive income that I have. I have 6 figures of passive income, but not the passive income that I want. So I hope that settles everything, and I hope there's a lot of psychological lessons in there about. I hope there's a lot of lessons in that arc of a story to help you guys with your life and take the plunge and really make your life big. We had time on that. We're up to 43. I reckon that answer was 20 minutes. I'm sorry for that, but hopefully it was really helpful. Lifestyle. Okay, son of Adam. Hi Max, what are some best practices to ensure your crypto assets do not evaporate when you pass away unexpectedly while your children are young enough to be taught? I know, crazy question, but crypto owners are basically the bank. No, it's not a crazy question at all. And so, yeah, if you don't have trusted family members, then this does become a challenge. Like, what if you get hit by a bus, or if you have very young children? Like, let's take this example. Your parents have passed away, you're estranged from your partner, your wife, husband, or whatever, and you've got young children. And who do you trust with wealth? What happens if you pass away? And who do you trust? That's a very good question, a very difficult question. That custodianship is challenging. So that is and that's a great argument for something like a Greystone. Is it called Greystone? GBTC? I think it's called Greystone. Sorry if I'm getting it wrong. The Greystone Bitcoin Trust, where other people have the keys, and you can just will your share. Your shares can be in trust for your kid. Or you can put your private keys to a trusted lawyer. No, I don't like this idea at all. So it's a really, really good question. Now, I'm assuming the question is for your kids that are too young to be taught, because it's called a dead man switch built into Bitcoin. If your coins sit in your wallet for 2 years, you can program your coins to be sent to another wallet. So what you do is you can have, if your children are of age, let's say your children are 20 and responsible, you can set them up with a wallet, and there's your wallet over here that they control this wallet, you control your wallet. And if your coins don't move for 2 years, your coins get sent to your children's wallet. So as long as they don't lose the wallet you gave them, they're going to get the money 2 years after you pass. That's one way to do it. It's called the dead man switch in Bitcoin. But if your children are too young, they're like 2 years old, 3 years old, whatever, how do you do that? Probably I would go down the path of using something like a custodian and take that risk. It introduces the risk of the custodian steals the money. But there are these custodians out there that are very large, very reputable. Your stuff is insured. And so that does become an option. I don't need to do that because I have other solutions. But you guys could do that. You guys could do that. I think it's a reasonable thing. Hi Max, what is the difference between your crypto trading course and Iman's research group membership that you recommend? So Iman is a full-time trader, and his whole team is like full-time trading, and they're looking to make an income from trading. I'm not doing that. I'm a very, very, very part-time trader, and I'm looking to grow my existing portfolio. I'm not trying to produce cash flow. I don't need to live off it every month. I just want more Satoshis at the end of the day. So my course is about a handful of trades per year that can help me, add 25% or add 50% or add 100% of the amount of Satoshis I have at the end of the year. So if you want to be a full-time trader or whatever, I think Iman's course is great. If you're just looking to, what are some smart moves I can make during the year if one particular asset just gets smashed for no real reason and we think it's a fairly good chance it's going to come back up, maybe that's a good time to jump into, to sell your Bitcoin, jump into that new asset with the intention of coming back to Bitcoin, 6 months later, a year later. That's more my course. I'm more of an investment strategy. He's more of a trader strategy, meaning making income as you go. When you said you bought different trading courses, summarized them together and created your own, did you buy Crypto Crew University trading course too and use some of his tools indicators in your trading course? Would you please highlight which were those? I did buy Steve's course, and I think it's a good course. I recommend it if you're interested in it. I don't want to give too much away about his course because it boils down to a couple things. So I won't do it here, but inside the members area, I might go ahead and do that solo because I don't want to talk too much about Steve's course in the open air, but in the context of because this is public on YouTube, But yeah, so in the members course, there are definitely a couple of things I pull from Steve's course, some of my indicators, and so I will share that with you. Okay, hi Max. What are your favorite decentralized exchanges for privacy token trading in order to circumnavigate the deep negative interest rate policies of physical cash deposit taxes which have been imposed by the IMF? Link offered. So the only exchange that I have used that supposedly is anonymous is Phemex, PHEMEX.com. They, for very small amounts, like up to 2 Bitcoin, like less than $20,000 worth, I think it is, or maybe it's 1 Bitcoin, go double check. You don't need to provide anything more than an email address. And of course, an email address can be anonymous and all the things. So that's the only one I've used, and I actually have some money sitting on their exchange at the moment. Pardon me. So yeah, that's something that's the one that I use. But I think we're really close, really close, and some would argue we're already there. That this world of DeFi is going to provide all these solutions where, if you're on a decentralized exchange and you sell your Ethereum for this coin and that coin for that coin and this coin for that coin, and I don't know, does that successfully mixing it? Or because that's all on chain, maybe not. But I think the privacy solutions are going to come thick and fast in the near future. And so a coin that only offers privacy, I'm not entirely ecstatic about. I think that it's going to have its day, but I think its day is going to be short-lived. So I don't take too much attention to that stuff. Hey Max, you mentioned the probability of a black swan event and how this may take all asset classes down for a dive with your dollar whale example. Yep. We've seen recently the general market resilience to Mr. Trump's unfortunate circumstance. Do you not think that as more larger investors are already buying and stashing BTC as their hedge, more BTC being taken off exchanges to hodl, that maybe little fish BTC decides not to follow? Simply swims on, takes advantage of all the free water near the surface and that lovely fresh food, i.e. new or ex-investors of those with FOMO virus looking for the slightest dip that the whale and his friends have left behind. Keep up the fantastic work. Your lateral thinking is well above many others. Thank you. So, Steve, I actually got a little bit confused in there, but I think basically the question is, if we separate Bitcoin investors into big fish and little fish, how are they going to operate and move? As a general rule, I think the little fish are actually way more advanced on this topic than the big fish. And so I think just the amount of people just watching YouTube videos like this and others who are starting to figure out, the amount of people who understand what the Fed is, who understand the consequences of money printing, who understand their monetary history, has just exploded in the last 10 years. And I don't know if Bitcoin caused it or it's definitely contributed to it. Whether it was it was the horse or the cart or the egg or the chicken, whatever you want to do, which one was first, I don't know. But the Titanic is a big, huge ship, and it's very, very hard to move it. The little nimble speedboats, i.e. the little Bitcoin investor, are the ones that can tack to this direction of, wow, there's this thing called cryptocurrency. It's the little guys that move the fastest compared to the big guys. Now, there's obviously plenty of little guys who aren't here yet, and there's plenty of big guys who aren't here yet. But I think the little guys are moving faster than the big guys. And so I actually looked at the little guys to see what's leading the industry and what's going to go, try and use the direction they're going to foretell me on what's happening in here. So I don't think that, I didn't exactly understand your question, but I hope that gives you a perspective of what I think is going to happen with the little fish. I don't think the big fish drive off the little fish, if that was your question. If I, for tax reasons, would like to trade and hold cryptos in a corporation, how would I go about to achieve that? I mean, how could I possibly prove that a wallet that I handle belongs to a corporation and not to me personally? You don't have to prove that. You just have to tell them that. It's double checking an account. Look, generally with IRS rules, the burden of proof is on you, and I understand that. You're guilty until proven innocent. However, if you have the documents like the minutes of your meeting that say we're going to go and invest in Bitcoin and that's the way, you're probably the CEO of this like sole member LLC or something like that. And so yes, you the individual will know where the keys are and how to get them and whatever else. But whether or not the corporation holds it or you held it, that's a matter of paperwork. Well, what were the minutes of the meeting and what's the bank statements? Where'd the money come from? The exchange you bought them on, was it in your personal name or was it in the business name? So if you want to be super crazy clean, you organize you get your company incorporated. You get the company gets on the exchange, has an account on the exchange, not the individual. You, as a personal investor, provide seed capital to the company. So the company has a bank account. The money goes from your personal to the company bank account. You're now a seed investor of the company. The company now has money. What does it do? Well, it takes the money to the exchange that it has an account at, and it buys the Bitcoin. And so the money trail is clear that the company owned the money. And so that's how you can do that. I think it was via your channel or email. I got knowledge of Keystone. Seems legit, but thought I'd ask what's your take on them. Yeah, so look, I think they've got a very cool trading course, like I said, and they're a different kind of trader than me, but I've learned a lot from them, and so I think they're legit. I think they're cool, and you don't need to buy. I have this thing all the time. You don't need to. I'm going to recommend a lot of different courses to you, and you don't need to buy all of them. Some people love hearing things 2, 3, 4, 5 times from 3, 4, 5 different people, and it gives them the confidence to take action and move forward. And also, the first time you read one book on a topic, you 100% of that book is new to this new topic. The second book you read on the topic, it's like 50% was in the first book and 50% is new. The third time you read a book on this same topic, now all of a sudden it's like 80% of it you already knew, but you just start the new ones. Your 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th book on the topic, now you're getting 1 or 2% nuance on this topic. But it's that knowing that last 10% is what makes you an expert on the topic. So I like to let you guys know about cool courses I hear about, and I like to consume information from lots of different places because I like to become an expert on these things. But this can get expensive. I'm in a financial position to do this. Don't ever put yourself in stress to buy courses. There's no such thing as a course you absolutely have to have. There's other courses you can do it less expensively. Depends on what your time situation is. Some people have a lot of time and no money. Some people have a lot of money and no time. If you have a lot of time, money and no time, I just want to, I just buy the course. It's neatly laid out. Someone's done all the research to put it in a logical order. They've gone through, 1,000 hours of YouTube and learning and experience to condense it into 100 hours of training. And I want to come in, I want to get it the efficient way. And some people are not like that. They're students. And they have a shit ton of time and no money. Well, don't buy the $2,000 course. Spend the 500 hours on YouTube watching the same redundant shit, looking for that last 1 or 2% to become an expert in the field. All of these options are fine. So don't stress yourself about courses. But I think Aman's is a good course. Hey Max, how do you view farm rural land as an asset class? Do you roll all real estate into the same general asset class when considering market trends and your different investment vehicles? I don't own any farm assets. I think it's a pretty good play. And it's probably best overseas than America. And the reason I say that is the farmland here is at a premium. But as we become more globalized, as it's cheaper and cheaper to transport goods around the world, then the hurdles of holding of the farmland and the produce that you create overseas is going to become more valuable compared to the American one. Like the transport costs are going to come down, etc. And so the ability to get the yield from your land, I believe, is going to go up overseas. So that's what I say about farmland. I think it's a cool asset class. I don't have any interest in it because it's not my jam. I'm a city boy through and through. We grew up in Sydney, 5 million person city at the time, 6 or 7 million person city now. Wouldn't know which end of a farm to start working on. So I like to invest in things that I know. But as a general asset class, I think it's a great asset class. When will you be answering these questions? Now. I am a few days late, so my apologies for that. I bought your course, but am unclear as to when is the right time to buy metals. The info in the course seems to be a mix, some old, some new, and when would be the best time to invest in real estate next year? Also, regarding digital currency, what happens if the internet goes down? Okay, let's go back to the first question. So, okay, I'm not going to tell you, like, oh my God, we're at the bottom. Oh my God, we're at the top. I do that with Bitcoin more than anything else. And I'm going to give you general trends, like I think before the year is out, there's going to be, everything gets hit similar to March 2020, and all asset classes are going to be depreciated. It's going to be a great time to get into Bitcoin and metals. I'm going to give you these general things. But I'm never going to tell you today's the day to buy metals, or today's the day to buy Bitcoin. I can't ever do that. I'm just going to tell you my perceptions of the market. I try to teach you guys how to fish, not give you fish. And I tell you what I'm doing, when I'm doing it, why I'm doing it, so that you can learn to make the decisions on your own. And the market updates I do and etc. are all designed that here's what I'm seeing, here's why I'm seeing it, and then it's your turn. If you bought the course expecting me to tell you when to buy, you're not going to get that out of me. It's not something I can do. I can't even do it legally, and it's not something I care to do. I would much rather teach you how to fish. Next question. Regarding digital currencies, what happens if the internet goes down? During that time, you won't be able to use it. But no, you do not lose your money. Also, any non-Bill Gates backed options in the digital currency available? I'm not aware of Bill Gates backing any cryptocurrencies. What about digital currency begin in competition with fiat currency? What about digital currency being in competition with fiat currency? Why would the government support something in competition with their money that they print? I don't think they are going to support it. They're not ecstatic about this. Um, yeah. So yeah, digital currency is in competition with fiat. Why would governments support something? I don't expect them to support something, and I don't consider what they're doing supporting it. Um, but there's not much they can do about it. And so, yeah, I don't perceive government as a threat to cryptocurrency. Hi Max, greetings from Ghana. Hello, Ghana, this is interesting. And I want to say thank you for the great insights and videos. One, is it okay to be just in cryptos if your investment money is only $2,000? Or I can split between silver and cryptos. 2018 Totally Crypto Summit, you talked about atomic swaps, Komodo, and Barterdex. Are you still bullish on it? So this was the very early days of decentralized exchange, and Barterdex was one example of it. Barterdex did not do well. I haven't followed that project for the last couple of years, so I'm really not sure what they're doing or what they're up to. So I can't give you an update on Barterdex. I'm sorry. The decentralized world is, again, I'm still very, very bullish on, and we just saw a huge bubble from it pop, but there will be more bubbles. Bitcoin bubbles and pops, bubbles and pops, bubbles and pops. DeFi will bubble and pop, bubble and pop, bubble and pop. It's a very exciting world. The amount of money, your $2,000, the amount of money you have should not dictate what classes of assets you're in. So, I mean, I understand why it doesn't. I spoke about that in the last Q&A. But yeah, look, if you got $2,000, if it's all in crypto, I don't think it's the worst thing in the world. Could you be a little bit more diversified? Maybe have some silver and some cryptos? Yeah, you could do that. But it's going to be fine either way. So thank you, Clarence, and thanks for saying hi from Ghana. Max, how sure are you that end of 2021 will hit peak cycle for alts and BTC? What's your thoughts on Hedera Hashgraph? Could this peak cycle extend into 22? So this is, I get this question asked in a few different forms. I think you're asking a similar question, which is some people are saying that the Bitcoin cycle is getting a little bit longer and longer. Some people are saying that the Bitcoin cycle is getting shorter and shorter. The price is going to go up by a lesser magnitude. I think the price is going to go up by a lesser magnitude, not the period get shorter and shorter. The reason being is the period is dictated by the halvings. That is what the big dictator of that is. And so for that reason, I think what we'll have is that if that portion, if that trend in Bitcoin continues, which is on the amount of the high of each bubble is slightly reduced. We've only had a couple, so it's a bit early to call that trend anyway. Then I think it would occur in a lower magnitude of increase in price rather than a shorter period. On that. End of 2021, yeah, look, at present, I still believe the end of 2021 will be the end of this cycle. We'll wait and see how that works out. I might change that next year. I'm surprised at how slow we're going. I thought Bitcoin would be further ahead of where it is than now, but it's far from panic stations. Like it's okay. It's within the realm of possibility. So that we're at $10,000 or $11,000 now. Instead of, I probably thought we would have been around about all-time highs right now. That's where I thought we would have been. So, we're really, really close to that. Once it breaks to this point of resistance, we will be at all-time highs in like the blink of an eye. And once we get to all-time highs, it will be off to the races big time. It will be back in the news cycle. It will be back on all the major networks. People will be hearing about Bitcoin from a million different places. There's now an army of Bitcoin businesses out there advertising to people, chasing that business. All the Bitcoin trusts, all the Bitcoin custodians, they're all out there educating people. And once it gets back in the news cycle, Bitcoin will go ballistic. But we just have to get to that all-time high. And so I would have expected to be around about now that we're breaching all-time highs. We're running a little bit late, not a big deal. Could it go to 2022? Absolutely. What do I think about Hashgraph? Don't care about it. It's not interesting to me at all. From what I understand, there's no real way to profit from it. And the profit motive of going through the headaches and hurdles of learning all about Bitcoin, why it's important, how to use it, getting through all the technical challenges of it in its infancy, the profit motive was a critical, important component to motivating people to do all of that to make Bitcoin what it is. And so I don't think Hashgraph has that. and therefore I don't think it's going to get off the ground very much at all. Hi Max, I have small amounts of several cryptos and some metals. I've never invested in stocks. I feel like there's nothing more to do, no point in getting more of the things I have, and I don't know about stocks. How can I use the information in Success Council? The big question I have is how to cash in cryptos. You have said you'll answer when the time comes. Thank you. I don't know. You have cryptos, you have precious metals. They're the only things that I'm recommending at the moment. If you want to buy low price cash flow real estate, that's another asset class I think you can get into. That is okay. I don't think it's great. I'm not recommending it to everyone else, but you're looking for diversification. So what would be the next thing I would diversify into? I would buy a very highly cash flowed, low end piece of real estate. A $40,000, $50,000 house that's cash flowing at 10%. You can borrow money at 3%, and the cash flows at 10%. That's a pretty reasonable investment to make right now. So the big question is, I have cryptos. I had to sell cryptos. So did I hear that right? The one question I have, how to cash in cryptos. You said, yeah. This is in one of the 6 FAQs, guys. There'll be an absolute abundance of ways in which to cash in your cryptos. You might not want to cash in to US dollars because it might be hyperinflation. That's fine. You can cash into metals. You cash into something else. There'll be a million different ways to do it. We need to wait and see when we get there what we're going to cash into. But there will be an exit strategy. Don't worry about it. You have mentioned that you are holding a fair amount of cash right now, and also that the banks will have a liquidity crisis and bail-ins may be a result. Is your cash in the bank? If so, how will you know when to get it out? Or are you using another method of keeping it safe? Thanks. I use several other methods, but I do have plenty of cash in the bank. I have several different bank accounts, keeping all my balances below the $250,000 limit for the FDIC insured. Is that a guarantee? No, but it's a step you can do, which is helpful. And I have also prepaid a lot of things, so I'm not going to have to pay things for quite a while. So I've got the cash out of my hands, so it's not in my bank accounts, and I've prepaid things in advance. So that's another strategy you can use. If the bank accounts get chopped in half, I've already fully got value out of my cash. Yes. Hey Max, in your opinion, what percentage probability would you give to a March-style crash happening in the next 6 months? Also, why do you think that? So I put it about 75%. And the reason I think that is primarily my conspiratorial hat. It's half and half, actually. Half the conspiratorial hat is that they'll do it before Trump's election to try and hurt him. And then the other half is I think the election is going to be such a shit show and create so much uncertainty that it will trigger serious problems in the last quarter of the year. So in the last couple of months. So one of it, yeah, those are the two main reasons. Mitchell, hi Max. If when the next market crash occurs, you have said there will be a liquidity shortage in USD. What will happen with other currencies' value liquidity, i.e. the Australian dollar, euro, pound during the same time? Should we stay away from these? What happens to the local currency as much as we can hold US dollars and USDT? So I believe that during those crises, when that happens, you're going to see the dollar be the first stop in the flight to safety. People will get out of Bitcoin. People will get out of gold. People will get out of euros. People will get out of the Australian dollar. People will get out of the stock market. People will get out of real estate. They'll get out of everything and go to the perceived safety of the US dollar. That is where the first stop. So I think under that situation where there's a huge market crash, 30% plus in the next 6 months, being in US dollars will be the best place to be. Can you be in one of these other dollar-denominated cryptocurrencies like USDT? Absolutely, that's a possibility. And if you choose to do that, absolutely a total thing. You can do that for sure. Neely, with all the banks and financial institutions investing heavily in Bitcoin and cryptos, do you think it is possible there will be a potential shortage in the future of Bitcoins and other cryptos in the market to buy? What are your top 3 alts and why? So there basically can't be a shortage of cryptos, of Bitcoin. There can't be a shortage of Bitcoin. They can be, all all it can be is a higher price. There's someone's going to sell Bitcoin at some price. So what you're talking about is the price going to explode? And the answer is yes. At some point, if there's a black swan event, the price will absolutely explode. If there's a black swan in the banking industry, if Deutsche Bank goes down, if a massive pension fund goes down, if any of these big cataclysmic things happen, a big black swan event, the Bitcoin hodlers are not going to be selling. It's like, whoa, if my money was in the bank, it got chopped in half? No. My money was in my retirement account, got chopped in half? No. I'm keeping the private keys. Thank you very much. And the price of Bitcoin will go up significantly. What are your top 3 altcoins? I'll just say Ethereum for a moment. That's my number 1 altcoin is Ethereum. I'll leave it there. Hey Max, do you think that precious metals will peak at the same time as you predict BTC will around December 2021? No, I do not. Precious metals run its own race. And I don't think it will bubble as crazily as Bitcoin will. I think Bitcoin will bubble a lot more and pop a lot more. Gold will I think run up, but not crash as much, and it's not on the same 4-year cycle that Bitcoin's on. So no, they're not in sync in that way. In the 1800s, all major countries adopted the gold standard to allow sovereigns to borrow at low interest rates. They did so even though that meant they would be forced to restrain spending. I believe that after the monetary and financial crisis, sovereigns will choose a new monetary system for the same purpose. Would a gold standard work again? Would a CBDC issued to producers of cheap, clean, high energy density power work to restore confidence in the ability of sovereigns to borrow at low rates? We would move from money from nothing, creating more debt, to debt-free money produced in return for a valuable resource. Wouldn't that be inherently non-inflationary, and pro-growth if it resulted in cheap power? First of all, the first question was, would the gold standard work again? Absolutely, the gold standard would work again. I'm just going to abbreviate everything else to be is, would an energy standard be there? Yeah, I don't think so. The reason being, energy doesn't make great money because you can't store it. It depletes and you can't transport it. You can't put it in your pocket and take it to another country inexpensively anyway. And so I just can't see energy being a way to do that. I mean, I appreciate we have a petrodollar now, so there's something to that, but I think they're going to go to, if their goal is for lower interest rates through safety, then I think then gold's going to make people more safe than anything else. So that achieves their goals. And would all that result in cheap power? No. In all of these environments where gold gets like if gold is used or something like this, if you abolish the debt system and move into a trusted other system, then what that means is the price of everything goes up. It's not deflationary, it's inflationary. The reason being is, as measured in dollars, gold has to get revalued at like 10, 20, 30, 40, $50,000 an ounce in order to do that. Energy has to get revalued. Rather than money just chasing power for power consumption, now it's chasing power for monetary value and a store of value. And an extra pool of money comes in, bids the price up of those things. So all of those things become inflationary. Hi Max, you said to get out of the stock market a couple of months ago. Should you still out if you're only invested in commodity stocks? Yeah, I think there's better ways to do commodities than investing in commodity stocks. But, like I said, Bitcoin's going to get hit, silver's going to hit, gold's going to get, everything's going to get hit if what I predict is going to happen is happening before they bring out the mega money printing. And so, you understand the risks you understand my position. The commodities are going to get hit too, but is it okay to be in them? I mean, I don't know what that means. I don't know what the question means. Yeah, it's okay to be in them. And they should do all right afterwards, but they're going to get the hit first. They'll get the hit first just like everything else. But it's okay. I have commodities, and that's part of my risk management strategy to have some of this. What if I'm wrong? What if there is no crash coming? What if we go into serious inflation really quick? So, you got to balance those risks out. Hey Max, what do you know about Kraken's new listing as a bank in Wyoming, not Wisconsin, which I said the other day, and possible security and privacy? Also, what were those little devices you once mentioned in a video to download crypto info on outside of our computer. Thanks. There's two devices that are the market leads. One is a Ledger and one is a Trezor. And they're available on Amazon and you can get them there. Super easy. Yeah, I know a little something about Kraken, not too much. But yes, they got banking approval. For a very specific kind of a bank, it is a 100% backed bank, meaning they can't do fractional reserve lending. So it's, in my opinion, it's going to become the bank of choice for smart people. If there's a run on banks, look for Kraken to look very, very good but I don't think you can invest in Kraken at the moment though. But it's very, very good for Kraken. And I think it's an excellent place to store your money there. As they get a little bit more sophisticated and their online tools get a little bit bigger and better, I'll almost certainly be moving portions of my wealth to Kraken. That's cash. Magnus, in the crypto trading chapter, you talked about the signals to buy. You did not say how you got or saw the signals. Yes, I did not, deliberately. Do you use the common reversal signals? I normally use at least 10 when I look at a chart. I missed the advice to go back at least 8 to 9 months to watch the history of movements. Do you do that when you analyze a trade? Yes. Finally, not a word for indicators like RSI, MACD, the rest of them. Indicators are a wonderful tool to validate your trade. Directional movement is another. I just learned about analysis cryptos, useful to understand the power of the trend. Do you intend to teach us this in the coming lessons? Yes, I do. Those, in my lessons, I teach you I have a signal. The signal says this is the time to buy. But I don't necessarily buy just because I got the signal. I then go and look at trend lines. I then go and look at other indicators. And so, but the signal portion are these indicators that you're talking about, and I teach you how I use them. And I should get all this done in the next week or two. Hi Max, great stuff. Question about trading. Backtesting a coin, how does it work? I'll show you how to do that. Is there different strategies for this? Yeah, there are lots of different strategies for that. What intervals do you use? Generally, I'm on the daily, although I look at the 4-hour, weekly, and monthly as well. But no, when I'm trading, I almost exclusively look at the daily. Sometimes I kick down to the 4-hour, and I'll just look at an entry point. But on the trading side of things, I'm almost exclusively on the daily. I'm still going through the first series of videos we were sent, but I have questions on those, and more specifically, precious metals. How or when do I ask them? Here, now, this is your time to ask questions. I try to get through these before Monday and listen in, but again, playing catch up big time. No worries, Terry, just keep plugging away. The information's not going away. You've got all the time to get in there. And every couple of weeks, I do a video like this where you can ask your questions. So this will be the place for you to ask your questions. When Bitcoin hits the top, how and which assets can you jump to during hyperinflation? Do you continue to hold Bitcoin if dollars are worthless? Yeah, you'll know what to move to. Yeah, and so yeah, if dollars in hyperinflation, don't go to dollars for sure. You'll know, and I'll tell you when what I'm moving into when those things happen, because it depends. It's what's the government going to do? Where is the money flowing? And we need to look at it and analyze. I got a whole bunch of ideas about what to do, but when this bubble pops, when we go into hyperinflation, if we go into hyperinflation, we want to accumulate a lot of debt, and so if that happens, great. We want to kind of get as much debt as we can and be buying up cash flow, and that cash flow will just eradicate the hyperinflating cash flow will eradicate that debt. That's one strategy, but there's lots more. When will you finish the crypto trading videos? I'm sorry guys, I know it's taken a bit longer than I was hoping, but I really hope to finish them off in the next couple of weeks. Hi Max, do you have any tips on achieving critical thinking? Yes, I do. It's something I've been doing for years and years and years, to the best of my ability. When I hear someone present an argument to me that is contrary to my current beliefs, I understand that I have a confirmation bias, and every single person has it, and you're going to want to resist the information. And so I try my very best for at least 15 minutes of hearing any opinion that is contrary to what I think, of trying to argue their point better than them. And because very often you're at a dinner party, like you might be drinking, or you're not speaking to the world's greatest orator, and they're bumbling through their message, and it's so easy to just be like, they're wrong. But they might have an excellent point, they're just bad orators at it, or something like this. So I always try to spend at least 15 minutes trying to argue their point even better than they can. And I do it out loud so that we can dialogue it back and forth and workshop their argument. And then after I've done that, then I come back and then I'll say, okay, I've gone through that exercise. It's not the most powerful argument, and here's why. And I have a normal conversation with them. But trying just as a habit, assume they're right and make their argument better for them for 15 minutes. Was that critical thinking? What was that critical thinking up here? Okay, let me do this. Max. Max, what up, my man? Say, my friend has access to about 100 acres in the middle of Ohio with a stream at the bottom and high elevations with a bit of a plateau, one of which has a large pond. It's all wild as it sits with no development. What would be some cash flowing ideas you may suggest? Okay, well and truly out of my area of expertise, what to do with 100 acres. So, I mean, the two things that jump into mind is is there some kind of farming aspect, be it animals or produce, that you can produce on it? Next is, I would say, if it is more, it's with the stream and it's got the whatever, is there fishing there? Is there a tourism play? Is there an Airbnb play? Is there a camping play? Is it the type of thing? Is there some kind of experience you can give to people? Like think Dude Ranch, think learn to fly fish, think whatever. What can you do to help people to do it? Another one is storage. I don't know where you are, how far you are, but there's like RV storage, things like that. So, I mean, it's very hard for me to imagine without seeing it and seeing what it does, but there's a million different ways to try and do it. It all depends on what the land is like, are there airports nearby, can people get to it, all these kinds of things. Sergio, hang on, let's put it down there so you can read it. Will banks still be around after this crisis, assuming we are progressively moving to digital currencies? Will loans still be available to the public to buy, for example, real estate? And if so, what will be a reasonable guess to the interest rates on those? In resume, if someone wants to buy real estate and borrow money from the banks in 2 years, what would we expect? So yeah, banks are around, they're not going anywhere. It's just too profitable and too many people make money out of it. The banks, and they're the most powerful lobby group in the world. So banks they're not going anywhere for a little while. You don't have to use them. You might be able to use some kind of DeFi thing or something like that to borrow. But yeah, banks are going to be around, especially with regards to buying real estate. They're going to be around after this next crash for sure. What would we expect the interest rates? That can go either way. We could go into massive deflation. We could go into massive inflation. We just have to wait and see what the environment is. What is the government going to do in response to the crisis? Are they going to come and print like crazy? Are they going to, it's going to cause inflation and then they're going to have to jack up interest rates? Or are they going to let it crash? Going to cause massive deflation? We have to wait and see what the Fed's going to do in response to it. Hey Max, I asked this Q, but you might have missed it. Have you had a chance to look at the Hex coin project by any chance? Seems way more sophisticated than just another coin as it provides a multi-year opportunity to have a passive income. I have not looked at Hex coin at all. Sorry about that, Iceman. Hey Max, pure speculation. Do you have an estimate on where we could expect to see BTC price start to plateau? I've heard ballpark quotes from anywhere of 500,000 roughly when BTC hits and starts to surpass the gold market cap, to some as high as $5 million in the years 2040 to 2050. Appreciate it. So I'm not sure if it ever plateaus until something better comes along to create it. Remember, the population is exploding. World population is exploding. Population gets bigger and bigger and bigger. The Bitcoin supply is not. Well, technically it is right now, but it's going to hit 21 million and stop. And so it's definitely not, it's already not increasing at a rate equal to the population increase, I don't think. And so I don't think it will ever stop until something comes along to be better than it. Until then, it's just going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. If Bitcoin remains stagnant till the end of 2021, around 10,000, what would be your exit strategy? It wouldn't. I would buy more. I wouldn't be exiting just because it was stagnant at the end of 2021. That's another 18 months from now. Well, I mean, the exit strategy is exit strategy. You sell it. It's all you can do with Bitcoin. But would I sell it at 2021? I still wouldn't. I would be thoroughly confused as to why things went sideways until then. That would baffle me. But I still wouldn't sell. I think it would just be building up more and more energy waiting to explode up. What is your number one silver stock play? I don't do stocks, so I don't have any mining stocks. I don't have any stocks, period. So I don't have any silver stock plays. Any major effect coming from the bit F from Trump getting COVID? Thanks. This question was asked 4 days ago, and so yeah, it had no effect. It might have had a little bit of effect on the stock market, but I don't know. I think it was interesting. I think if Trump died, that would be absolutely devastation for the markets, big time. It would mean a Democrat win in the presidency. It would mean that all the money would understand that was really, really bad. The fact that the stock market went down so little to Trump going to hospital, etc., means that the vast majority of smart money knows that COVID is whatever. It's the flu. Like, get over it. Like, it's a little bit worse than the flu. The overreaction to it is just ridiculous, and the market knows that, and just doesn't. I was like, oh, Trump got sick from COVID. Like, we fully expected him to make a full recovery. If they thought he was going to die, the stock market would have crashed hard. Hi Max, with Australian real estate prices being so high, when BTC does reach $100,000, is still won't be enough for many people to buy property outright here. People holding only a few BTC, for example. In that scenario, would you recommend investing in real estate in countries with more reasonable prices, or find local ways to acquire cash flow, e.g. businesses? Thank you. Both of those are all right, Cliff. Another one is consolidation, or what's it called? Oh my gosh, what's that word starting with S? Joining of many people putting their money together. Can't think of the word. Sorry, brain fart. Starts with S. Just not working for me. That's one way to do it. And so, and don't forget, there's lots of places. There's houses to buy in Australia for $300,000, $400,000 Aussie. And so, but okay, let's say you don't have that money. Like, the banks are still going to give you 70%, 80%. So, you can still do this. Syndication, that was the word. And so, there's lots of things. But the point is, after the debt bubble collapses, that's the time to go and buy cash flow. So your head's in the right space. So are there businesses? Should I invest in things overseas? I would invest in things you know about. Don't go and invest in markets you don't understand. So invest in things you know about is what I would suggest there. Hang on, where do we go? What is the reason the total market cap is calculated differently on Gecko, CoinMarketCap, and other crypto market info sources? For example, Gecko calculates the total market cap as 338 billion, CoinMarketCap at 333 billion, and TradingView calculates it at 326. Is there more to this? So Zach, if I understand what the answer is, I've never even noticed this. To me, they're just rounding errors. But I think I understand your question. And those three sites, there's a lot of work in the background, coders working to grab data from exchanges. And sometimes the sites just haven't, coin number 700 and some small little exchange with, $100 million trading on it. It's some of the sites just haven't done the work to integrate and log in with their APIs and calculate that data. So they probably don't even have, listed on each of those three sites, they probably don't even have the same number of coins, because this is all data that's sucked off exchanges through APIs, and there's just thousands of exchanges out there. And so they don't always have the exact same exchanges that they're linked into. Sup, man? Will cryptos get banned or regulated? In some places they'll get banned, in some places they'll get regulated, but it's not going to hurt Bitcoin significantly. There are still many countries out there who aren't sure whether to ban or regulate it. Even a few countries are trying to pass the law to ban the digital asset and introduce their own centralized shitcoin. Yeah, so here's the beauty about Bitcoin. Like, you own Bitcoin and your country bans it, it's great. To walk out, leave the country with your USB, they can't do anything about it. If they ban gold or something like that, now trying to get gold out of the country, it's a little bit harder to do. And so, if your country bans, that's what it's like. It's that kind of censorship-resistant behavior of Bitcoin that makes it so difficult to censor and ban. And any country who bans it just embarrasses themselves. Like, it's just, so will they try? They will, and they've done it. Russia's done it, China's done it, and they walked it back a few months later and things like that. So it just doesn't work because of its censorship-resistant nature. Hi Max, do you think the book buying selling business you pitched will thrive or not with the collapse? So I actually think it'll do much better. It'll thrive. The reason being, if you look back to 2008, okay, all this joblessness happens. What does everyone do? Everyone goes back to school. Oh, I'll go back and get my, I can't work. I may as well go to school and get my master's. I may as well go back and get a degree. I may as well go back and get my whatever high school diploma. And so I think in that environment, it actually does very well. And that's already been the case. This year, it's the book trading business is doing very well. So I hope that helps. What is the strategy with holding selling crypto around election time and through the end of this year? Hold through volatility or sell a portion before elections to buy back in after the correction? Also, do you reckon it's a BTC bull run after this correction or alt time? I've answered the first two questions are in the 6 frequently asked questions. I've answered them a lot. I'm not going to answer them again. I think it's BTC bull run after the correction. I think BTC is what leads the charge, and altcoins will have a bull season shortly after it, but BTC will lead the charge, I believe. Sorry, one more question, if you don't mind. What are your thoughts on altcoins that pay out rewards for staking? I currently own Tezos and Cosmos, which both pay about 4 to 5% annualized staking rewards. Seems like a good way to earn extra crypto. Yeah, I kind of answered this question in one of the first questions of the day, in that if you're getting a return, there is risk introduced somewhere. And so I just have to understand the given risk. And all the different coins have slightly different risk profiles and how they achieve these rewards. And so you just have to check them out. Hey Max, great channel. What are your thoughts on shorting or buying puts on the major stock market or indexes during the crash? Seems like a good opportunity to generate more cash than to reinvest into crypto and metals later on. Yeah, it's definitely a strategy you can do. I haven't done it. I don't do it because I just don't deal with the stock market. But both of those things are reasonable strategies if you believe that the market's going to go down. They both work. What's your price prediction for OMG Network and EOS during the upcoming bull cycle? So I've actually got a fair amount of EOS. It's actually my second biggest hodling, EOS. And it's just because I'm a huge fan of Dan Larimer. I think he's a genius. I think he's really brilliant. And so, yeah, hopefully go EOS. I think what Dan does is pretty awesome, but it is up there in market cap, and whether it deserves to be there at the moment is a good value. I'm not 100% sure, but the EOS marketplace is really, really cool. I think it should do well. OMG, I'm not that familiar with. Dixonormous. Dude, I love your name, and I love that you wrote a comment on literally every one of my videos. Hey Max, sorry if you've answered this before, but my question is, what do you think the outcome would be on the Bitcoin market if Trump wins versus Biden wins? Short, long term. Short term, if Trump wins, small bump because I think it's expected. If Biden wins, big crash because the markets will not be happy. If Biden wins, it's going to be very bad. Longer term, exactly the same. The markets are right. Biden winning is disastrous for the economy. Trump winning is fantastic for the economy. Michael Saylor recently said that the altcoins are a scam and are a direct attack on Bitcoin. After his recent $425 million purchase, he may be a wee bit biased. Yes, he sure could be. I don't think, he sounds like he's relatively new to Bitcoin. He's going through the phase of being a Bitcoin maximalist. And I think as his knowledge improves, he will change his mind. How's the short on Ripple looking? Still good. Still good. Do you have anything else in the alt or planning to? Yeah, always looking. I'm always looking to make a play, but I haven't done it. It's because the market is so quiet and moving so sideways, there's just not that many trades. I like to see a big drop or a big fall before I get involved. That's usually when I'm going to get involved. And the market's been so boring, I haven't made any trades lately. The Ripple, the XRP, correction for people out there, they corrected me. It's not Ripple, it's XRP. The XRP trade is still looking great and still live. Broker question mark, I don't understand. Greetings, Max. What are the chances government will ban... How long have we been going here? Hour and 34. Hello. What are the chances governments will ban some or all existing cryptocurrencies after government-controlled digital currencies are introduced? Isn't power and control the name of the game? Should fans of Bitcoin and crypto be concerned? Many thanks. So some governments will try and ban it. They'll embarrass themselves when they do. Can it take a hit if like all exchanges like have to shut down? I mean, it can absolutely take a hit. The price of Bitcoin can take a hit. But if it did and you weren't in the game, I would highly recommend getting in on the game at that point because it'll come back very, very quickly. It'll come back very quickly. It's very resilient to this stuff. Is it good to get exposure to Bitcoin through GBTC using the interactive broker system? I'm not familiar with what the interactive broker system is. I believe GBTC is the Bitcoin Trust. And there are reasons to do this. If you don't trust yourself to hold the private keys, or the other issue earlier in this conversation about, what happens if I die? What happens? How do I make sure my kids can get my private keys? GBTC solves these solutions. So there's definitely reasons for it. However, I would rather have the private keys and not have someone else having control of my money. What is your thoughts? Are your thoughts on Yearn Finance? And I never heard of it. Hi, Max. We're here. Hi, Max. Can you transfer Bitcoins from one country to another? For example, the answer is yes. Can I? Yes, yes, yes. So yes, the answer is you don't even need to transfer. You can carry your coins to a different country, or the beauty of Bitcoin is instantaneous delivery anywhere in the world with no gatekeepers. No one can ever stop you transferring your Bitcoins to any location. So no problems doing that. Can you bring your wallet overseas with you? Yes. Do I need to be aware of some laws and restrictions? You should. I mean, I always have to tell you to be aware of laws and restrictions, but if you wanted to hide it, it's so easy to hide that the laws become irrelevant. Hi, Max. You talked about turning $5,000 worth of Bitcoin into $100,000 income in 2 years. How are we looking to do this? So I went through that in my presentation, and you should, so if you talked about it, you heard me explain it, so I don't understand your question. Exactly in that presentation, it walks you through it step by step and tells you exactly how to do it. So I don't know how to answer that. Any thoughts on the Bitmex fiasco? No, I mean, I've been around when, what's it called? When Mt. Gox collapsed and things like that. God, Bitmex gets in trouble. To say who cares is an understatement. So just not a big deal at all. 2 questions to go. Thoughts on the mass immigration of non-Europeans into America and Europe and the low birth rate of Europeans? Oh, thank you for asking this question. I really want to get my channel banned. Let's hear him out. If mass immigration and increased population of people who don't build and who will not maintain the systems of Europe or USA continue to grow, are all bets off as far as a return to a semblance of Western civilization? Are we entering a Dark Ages type of situation? As a productive European heterosexual male, how dare you? What is the best way to navigate and capitalize on what is likely to be the fall of our system while staying safe as we're continually demonized by foreign-owned media and bought-out politicians in our own nations? Thoughts on this spicy subject? Spicy subject indeed, Pumpet. Let me see what else. Who else is replying down here? Hello, there he is. It was just another question. So, God, what do I want to say about this? I mean, there's so many things you can't say on YouTube, and this is definitely in that category. So, I mean, grouping people by geographic location is kind of a flawed system. I don't care where you were born. I also don't care what religion you are. I don't care what color you are. I don't care whatever you are. I only care about, do you have the same ideology and philosophy about me? I want communists to have a place to go and be communists. And I want libertarians to have a place to go and go and be libertarians. And I want capitalists to have a place to go and go and be capitalists. And I think if I was in control of immigration of any given country, all of my questions would be about assimilation into the host nation, and you have to have the idea of that host nation. That has to be your ideology. Don't bring the ideology of wherever the hell you came from. If the ideology is good there, stay there. And if you like the ideology, if you move into a country, go there for the ideology. Now, because of the welfare available to immigrants, this has betrayed that concept. And people come for money. It's a bit like the billionaire, 60-year-old billionaire marrying the 26-year-old hottie. Does she really love him, or does she want the money? He'll never know. We'll never know. It can't be known. Well, when people come here and get welfare and free education for their kids and whatever, do they come here because they love America? Or do they come here hating America, but willing to come because America is stupid enough to bribe them to come, in the same way the 60-year-old is stupid enough to bribe the 26-year-old hottie to marry him? So in order to know if people coming to your country love your country, which I think should be something we can agree on, you should only, you don't invite people over for a dinner party that hate your guts. That's not going to make your life better. And it's not going to make any particular country better to invite people in that hate it. So, at the very least, we should set up the systems like no welfare, there's plenty of private schools around. There's homeschooling opportunities abound. If you want to come here and pay for yourself and pay for your kids, then what does that mean? It means you love this country, and we would welcome you with open arms if this was me running the show. Because I don't have any fear or doubt. I know why you're here. You're here because you love this country. You're here because you want to work hard. You're here because you want to grow your wealth, your prosperity, your happiness, and we want to help you facilitate that. If we are bribing you to come, now all of a sudden, I don't know why you're here. I don't know if you like us. You might hate us. And it's a really bad idea. So is it a bad idea to welcome people in on these pretense? Yes. In my opinion, it's bad. I love immigration. I'm an immigrant. I love people coming that share my ideology. And I would give people the other gift of going to another country that shared their ideology. I left partially Australia for this reason. America was more aligned with my ideology. And so this is the way I think it should be. And there's going to be problems all over the world in all different directions when countries encourage people, bribe people to come to their country. You don't know if they're coming because they love you or hate you, and it's a problem. And so, yes, your concerns are valid. Hi, Max. Thanks for everything. What market signals do you use to predict markets have reached tops and bottoms before the longer-term averages meet the short-term prices? Well, oh yeah, well, we're going to teach that in my crypto trading course, and so we'll leave that for there. Hi, Max. Thank you. I love learning from you. You are giving so much good information. Stay blessed. Ah, what a great way to end it. Chin Chin. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Thank you so much. Guys, so much. I appreciate this. I will do it. Sorry it was late, by the way. In another couple of weeks, I will do another Q&A. So we'll see you then. Take care. I love you.